At the moment we're at Kiwirrkurra community and we've got a Ninu Festival on, or Bilby Festival. We're the most remote community in Australia, so to have all these people come out, it's very special. We've had Indigenous ranger groups come from all over the place who also got a big passion for protecting Ninu and working on country. They're learning and we're learning off them as well. We're learning off scientists on their ways of protecting the Ninu. So this festival's really opened up a massive conversation.
Once upon a time, bilbies occurred across 70% of Australia, and now unfortunately we think it's only about 15%. So they've really retreated to a bit of Northern Territory, a bit of WA and a tiny bit in Queensland. And of that area that's left, it's about 80% of it that is managed or owned by Aboriginal peoples. So when we want to think about how we're going to protect the bilby, we've got to make sure we acknowledge Indigenous rangers and Aboriginal people out on their country, managing the land. They're the people that we need to acknowledge and support and fund if we're going to save the bilby.
Bilby's a really important part of the landscape. They're an ecological engineer. They move vast amounts of soil. They allow water to infiltrate to the base of trees. They move seed around. They create homes and spaces for a whole range of other species. We've lost so many mammals in the last couple of 100 years since Europeans have arrived and introduced cats and foxes. The bilbies are the last ones standing, other than, of course, the big kangaroos. So we care deeply about them. We care about the bilbies, we care about all of our wildlife. The bilbies have helped us create stories and song and context, and we lose them and we lose so much cultural impetus.
The bilby has obviously declined a lot in the last 100 years, but it's not just something that happened back in the 50s and 60s when lots of other animals declined and disappeared. The bilby is still disappearing from sites now. The southern edge of the range of the bilby has retracted to the north by about 300 kilometres in the last 20 years. We know that bilbies are doing better on Aboriginal land than anywhere else, and often around communities where people are still hunting and burning is where bilbies are surviving the best, but they are still disappearing from Aboriginal land as well. So if we keep just doing what we're doing, even if we keep just monitoring, the bilby is eventually going to go extinct. So we need to change what we're doing. We need to ramp things up, and Aboriginal people out on country are in the best position to do that. But sometimes, because it's a really big area and there's not a lot of people out there, they need a few other tools and new technologies to help them as well.
Most of our work is based out on country, doing a lot of monitoring and ferals monitoring, weed monitoring, native plants, native animals and stuff. Coming to this Bilby Festival here at Kiwirrkurra, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to put our bilbies on the map for other desert ranger groups.
The festival's been really important for a number of reasons. We had a huge summit on the Gold Coast last year with 29 different stakeholders represented, where an Indigenous festival or something of this like was considered a really major priority for bilby recovery. We've been solely focused on trying to raise awareness and much needed funds to save the bilby for almost 20 years. We need a lot more help, and we need help in the areas of land management and taking this country back to where it will support healthy populations of not just bilby but a whole range of our threatened species.
Thank you.
This festival has been a big opportunity for me as a young ranger. Came in and get involved with the older people and learning about the other stories and traditional way, and learn more about bilbies from the other people and take it back to Barnwood and show what we learned so far.
The last line of defence at the moment are Indigenous land managers and ranger groups. It can't be done without the support of the Australian people. People need to know they're not on their own and that they can actually make a difference. But that means having the rest of the country getting our back, you know. We're out here, there's small populations of people that are out here every day going out burning country, going out monitoring bilby sites, going out hunting feral cats. If we're talking about jobs, well, this is one of the most, you know, a very important job in the country to actually make sure that we don't lose what makes Australia special.
This little fellow is known as Bilby nationwide, and that's our traditional name for him. Bilby, Bilba, is a traditional name from my country. And it's great what's happening in terms of the cultural conservation along with scientific conservation that's taking place up here in other Indigenous owned lands up here. So just having the opportunity to come up here and be part of this on special country, it's amazing.
That's the name of this place called Kiwirrkurra. Yo, this song I think about Plapa. Plapa la ngayon ko. This that Plapa is in the willow now. Long way that way. He went that way. He running away. Warang ajang aja jedor bana ko ale jelana bajuram para warang ajang aja jedor ban ko ale jelana bajuram para warang ajang aja jedor ban. I attack all the people to the Kiwirrkurra. Ninu Festival. Everybody must well know that he got about Ninu Festival. What you call English? Ninu. Bilby. Ninu Bilby. Bilby. She has been wiping and going in that rock to Kiwirrkurra.
I think the scientists that came to Kiwirrkurra for this Bilby Festival learnt a lot as well. I think they were blown away by the fire management that's going on when we showed the fire mapping of all those little fires that are being burnt around communities like Kiwirrkurra. So they can take that information away and put it into their plans for bilbies as well. Like, this is what works for bilbies, and they can work out how to extend that out over larger areas. So we think the fire is a really important story for Ninu, so it's bringing up the food plants, but also stopping the big fires. So where you've got fires and then spinifex, the bilby, there's a couple of different ages here. This is freshly burnt. Within a few months, hopefully, we'll have that Wildfires seed coming up. Over here, this was burnt a couple of years ago. You get other plants after the Wildfires, so bush tomatoes and skeevala, and then they've still got the thick spinifex to run into when a cat or a fox comes along. When people were sort of walking around the country, looking after the country to promote their own foods, they were also making food for bilbies. So yeah, it's probably the animal that had the most in common with people as far as what it ate. Maybe that's why it's still around today.
The IPA program in Kiwirrkurra helps us with employing young Indigenous rangers. It helps with the old ladies who are coming out and teaching younger women, the older men who are going out. So not only it's we're helping to protect the environment, but also it's creating employment within remote places that really need it. Every couple of weeks we have Kate and Rachel come out and they run the IPA program, and we go out and we look at Ninu's burrows and we help look after their population, see where they're going, and they're very important to us because they're a good indicator on, you know, if they're doing good, so is the environment.
The damage has been done over the last, 200 years in this country, but now it's time for people to actually get up off the couch and actually demand that these species doesn't disappear off the face of the earth.
Traditional tracking is the basis of a lot of work we do to save bilbies. Even if we bring in traps and other technologies, the basis of it is still knowing where to find those bilbies to start with, and traditional tracking is the key to that.
The yellow crosses, that's where those cats have been killed. And the red triangles, that's where Ninu are now. So you can see we've been killing a lot of cats near where the Ninu are, and also anywhere that people happen to be and hunting. These are our two number one cat hunters. We've got a bit of a competition going as to who's got the most. Nolia's winning. She's on about 17, 18. John T's on about 10. It's always a team effort, so sometimes John T's quite generous. He lets someone else actually finish the job. But number one winner right here.
You one eat parole one eat. Yeah.
We've all come here, we've eaten really well, we've shared lots of stories, but our job now is to make something firm, to make some firm plans about what we're going to do in the future. So before lunch, we're going to, when everyone's together, write down a whole list of actions that we might consider doing when we go back to our own country and we're working for the next year or the next 2 years or the next 5 years.
We talked about rewilding our own mob.
It was evident from the final planning session that we had that people were really excited and inspired to go home and ramp things up on what they're doing for bilbies. A lot of people are doing monitoring, they're doing burning, they're doing feral animal control. We don't need to resort to fences to save the bilby. We've got so much capacity out there. We've got 20 ranger groups, we've got hundreds of people out there ready and willing and able to do things to save the bilby. So they just need the funding to do it.
Ko alinjila na barjura bara waranganja jidor bane ko alinjila na barjura bara waranganja jidor bane ko alinjila na barjura bara waranganja jidor bane ko alinjila na barjura bara